Good evening. You're listening live to the Xtreme Movie Show. I am your host, Rob, broadcasting as usual from the Pine Hills Palace, just west of Orlando, Florida. I am in the Xtreme Studios with the young 20-something Professor Pixel. Tonight, he's going to be my Boodle Boy as we continue our coverage of Columbo Season 4, Episode 3 by Dawn's Early Light, starring for the first time in what apparently is going to be 3 or 4 different appearances, Patrick McGoohan, a.k.a. Danger Man, a.k.a. The Prisoner, a.k.a. that mean old bastard on, I believe it's Silver Streak, which is a fun movie too. And I got to sit there and say, for first viewing for me, Pixel, a couple quick thoughts here before we get going into the episode here. Um, Obviously, the show's the first watch for both of us. I've seen 1 or 2 episodes outside of this, much later on in like the 90s. I know we have differences of opinion about what we think we personally like and what we think works, and that's one of the joys about discussing this. But for me, what was very striking about this episode was, one, it's dark. It's not a fun episode. And two, they're very effective in how they tell a story because this is a serious Columbo. There's very little goofing off, stupid shit without a lack of a soundtrack or really sound there at all. I got to tell you, they could have easily just did this by a Columbo by numbers episode. I'm like, yeah, it was pretty good. This is funny. That was cute. That was nice. She was kind of hot or like that. This is an episode so good it stands on its own up there with some of the other top 4 or 5 episodes to this point that we've seen. But it's certainly not what I would call a fun episode. But if there's any doubt, Patrick McGoohan, who's considered to be James Bond first and all that too, doesn't deserve it, needs to watch this because there's some fantastic stuff in there. And I think, without looking it up, I've heard stuff about him winning an Emmy for this or being nominated or whatever. It's that fucking good of him and of an acting job. And tremendous episode all the way around. Loved it to the end. And it's very, very tight. They did everybody a positive service here by how well they did it, unlike last week's episode, which is a bit farcical to me. And that's my last rant on that. What was your initial take after you watched this episode?
I liked it. I know I always start off saying that. This actually is the first episode that I haven't watched on my own. I was watching this with my younger brother. He happened to be here that day, and I was just trying to throw on something on the TV. He ended up sitting down and watching it with me.
Mm-hmm.
And we actually watched The Prisoner together as well. So it was kind of funny that the first episode I throw on and that he's around and he's going to sit down and watch is the one that features Patrick McGoohan. It started out so silent, so quiet, so slow, and let's go ahead and get into that.
All right, let's do it.
We go ahead and we start with Patrick McGoohan, who is playing Colonel Rumford, as he is carefully taking the gunpowder out of a explosive charge and placing C4 inside of it instead. He is sweating heavily throughout this entire process.
Look at his gaze there. That's acting. You can talk about the hair being colored and, the outfit, and he looks like the average Joe and those glasses and everything. But just look at the intensity of his eyes there. And yeah, I know it's just a spray bottle, but here's the thing. This episode was shot on location, not at the Citadel, but another military college, I think in South Carolina. I looked it up because it reminded me of in the recent Halloween reboot trilogy, the first movie. There's a scene where Michael's out there on a checkerboard pattern. And I said, I love the fact that this was shot outdoors for the most part in a real live location, in a real life setting. And look at him. So that could very well just be a touch of the humidity down here in the deep South that you and I know too well.
Yes. As he's going through, he's getting it ready. He's done. He puts on the top. He puts on his gloves. He puts on a coat, and he hides the charge beneath his coat. Which
it's like he's going to shank somebody with it.
It isn't really comical, but like when he was first doing it, my brother was like, "Are you kidding me?" I was like, "Just watch. You can't really tell as he's walking outside with it." But no, he goes ahead, goes to their armory where they're going to go ahead and have the charge capped. And he places it in the box like nothing ever happened to it. It's still there. Tucks it away. He goes ahead. He's walking outside across the checkerboard field and across the grass to this old cannon. he takes a what looks to be like a wad of cloth, stuffs it in there, looks around, and what does he notice but hanging in the window a little bottle of cider.
Hooch, as we would say here in the South.
Ooh.
Stuff that you would ferment at home that would be very, very strong. Spirits to the other type of person in the South. But yes, that's what you see.
And he gets that sharp eye about him.
This crash room is super important because when I watched it at first and they started talking cider, I'm like, what are you talking about? And I rewind and I went, oh, I turned my head away for a split second. That's why I thought this was significant.
Well, I knew it was significant. I knew it had to come into play. We'll get into that. He returns back to his abode, where he goes ahead. He sets himself in his pajamas. And he's laying back as, guess what? 6:30 comes. He's up and ready. The door knock at the door. It's his boodle boy. Has his coffee ready for him right there. Just the way you. And the chef believes he has it the way you like it. And he tests it. It's like, yes. And he goes ahead back and is about to let the boodle boy go away when he notices his shoes, and he says to go to his office later for discipline. After that, he's at his office. He speaks to the secretary. Their special guest is getting there, which happens to be, what's his name? No. William Haynes. William Haynes, he is on the board of the school, and has been for some years. The place is named after his family. And he goes ahead and makes it clear that he's going to go ahead to the board and propose turning the military academy into a co-ed school. The numbers are down. Nobody wants to play soldier anymore. The war's over, but as Rumford would say, there are too many people set out on destroying our country. The war is never over.
Yeah, I think this whole setup here, we're starting to get it because when we first see him, they're sweating over their charge work. Okay, but who is this guy? Why is he doing it? But I'm going, it's Patrick McGoohan. He's going to be the bad guy. Fuck yeah, right? I'm really excited. That means it's nothing, but looking at him here, I'm going back to my 70s kind of, love-hate relationship being a child and then a teenager in the 80s where I go, look at the wooden desk. Look at the dual fountain pen set up in front of him. Look at the three flags in the background in the corner because he's got his desk angled there. Look at all that glorious wood paneling, sir. This is not a prop set. This was filmed on location, and there's green carpeting too. This brings back so many fond memories. I can feel what it's like sitting down that chair. And look at how everything is set on top of the green felt there. And of course, he's got cigar box. And he's got the lighter off on the side. That is a man's desk, sir. And he's got probably scotch or some sort of alcohol in one of the cabinets on the side. That's what every man has. That's why you have a desk and you know you're a man. And if you have degrees and certs, they go behind you so everybody can see you. You're placing and crafting a position of power that other people see you in. And this is not a joke. And one of the interesting things about the 70s is there became a very intense study on human performance. I mentioned this in other areas, like when we did some of the Columbo reviews with fitness, not just the one with this season here with Robert Conrad, but in other seasons where they're at the fat farm and stuff. There is an intense, perverse desire after Vietnam for everybody to, once they had to start going to work with the shitty economy of the 70s, say, well, what does it mean to look good? What's a good-looking person? What is a good-looking suit? How does it fit well? Most of those things come from the military, and you look at how well he's decorated and all that. Patrick McGoohan, even though he looks like the average Joe, does such a tremendous job in here that looking at him, you believe it's like a colonel. You could expect him to be barking and being an asshole in here, but he's not. He totally makes this role completely different. Look, it's supposed to be, I think, California, right? Even though it was filmed somewhere else. but they've got the three flags there, which is what you would have. You would have United States flag, you'd have your state flag, and then you have the flag of where you're at. And a lot of that is lost on today's society as far as what you can have and everything too. So I just thought it was really tasteful how they chose to shoot this, because this was a big deal after Vietnam that people understood all that. So his desire really strongly to understand that, hey, now war's over, everyone thinks it's done, we're going to go back to just doing whatever. I'm the man that makes it happen, and damn it, you're one of these guys that wants to have them fraternize, blah, blah, blah. Men and women get together at a junior college. I don't like that. But he doesn't lose his cool, so he must be up to something, and we know it. He's going to whack him. Yeah, this is great furniture. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, got distracted with the episode. The Margin Man's coming out. Back to the office, though. Haynes makes it clear he doesn't really give a damn what Rumford wants or thinks. He is going to propose it. It's going to happen, and he will be delighted to see Rumford out of there. And at that point, Rumford goes and he gives a file to the secretary. He opens the door. Please file this immediately. And then goes back in, leaving the door open. As he's saying, I don't believe you can do a thing without me. Haynes, you're hardly here. Basically the kindest way to say, I don't even think you can wipe your own ass. But he goes ahead and says, you've been here for the ceremony for the past however many years, and I bet you think you could go ahead and run it yourself. But I am sure that you cannot. And that makes Haynes go ahead and, yeah, I damn can.
Did you buy it that him baiting him into doing it, he knew he'd say yes?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's exactly what he was very careful with his words.
That was probably in this episode for me the only real leap. Sometimes we have those in logic that don't seem to make sense, or luck, or whatever, or the writing. So I wanted to ask you that. I wanted to ask you also too, wasn't it obvious that this guy's going to get his ass blown all over the place in that cannon at this point?
Oh, absolutely.
And because it was going to be a buildup with him walking across the lawn and doing it, I was popping hard. It wasn't like he just murdered him right then there on the spot and covered it up, because that can be shocking too. So there's this nice little delay here between this little fight where we're like, yeah, bastard, you're going to get your ass blown up. Fuck yeah. So I'm really looking forward to this.
Yeah, he goes ahead over. He's announced as the guest of honor, as he has been for years. But this year he's going to be pulling the cord. He goes ahead to the cannon, grabs it. You have Rumford in the distance watching intently. And one yank, and boom! You hear the, oh my God, the screams all around, while Rumford just staring thinkingly ahead. And from there, we just cut immediately to Columbo walking the fields. The other cops that are there, they're talking to each other, saying, looks like it's clean, cut, and dry. I don't have a picture of this. Okay, I just wanted to make sure. Clean, cut, and dry. It was an accident. Tugged. It was an old gun. World War I. Bound to happen. But Columbo, he's looking at the field. He finds some bits and pieces. Rumford actually notices and says, "You'll want to report that to the police." And he goes over to one of the officers and says, "Hey, you might want to tell that man he refuses to leave." And that's Lieutenant Columbo. He's actually in charge of the investigation. And the first time I watched this, I noticed that caught his attention. Like, him? Really? But from there, it's looking like it's wrapping up. There's nothing to do but collect everything. And he goes ahead into the chapel where they're having a service immediately.
I think his reaction to Columbo and all that, he was nonplussed. Like, yeah, whatever. Not like he was arrogant, but like, okay, it's just something he's going to have to deal with, and he knew it, and he was planned for it, right? Because that's what he does, right? I mean, so I'm buying it so far. He hasn't lost his school. He isn't like, oh my God, I didn't account for that. It's just it's par for the course. It's part of what he knew was going to happen too. You know, Columbo's clue that he had was that piece of material that looked like it had been burnt or something like that he was checking out. Yeah.
But from there, Columbo follows into the chapel as they are having their prayer that's being led. But he, of course, being Columbo, goes ahead. Excuse me, Colonel. I wanted to ask you about some things that I just found. And he shows first, I believe, the bit of cannon, and then he shows a rag that he's found.
Mm-hmm.
And at first, Rumford's like, I'm not sure, because it just looks like a piece of cloth. And Columbo's like, yes, of course. Well, I'll continue. I'll keep asking around. And as he's going, he does this quick, Lieutenant, and he turns in such a manner that it's hard to describe. It feels like an alarm goes off in his head that he has to go ahead and try to intersect, to go ahead and say, oh, that's a cleaning rag. At once.
Yeah, he's making an on-the-fly decision. His gut's telling him he needs to address this.
Yes.
Kind of nip it in the bud right now. So he's, yeah, I agree with you on that. But Columbo, I don't think suspects anything at this point. Sometimes I think, Columbo kind of has an idea. It's always that guy. But here, I don't think Columbo really has it. I really don't. Not right now, anyway.
Not right now, and I don't think for a little while.
But I agree.
He tells Columbo, "Hey, why don't you come with me, and we can find out. It should be reported in the files who's on cleaning duty. Who's there but the Boodle Boy?" But Rumford pretty much tells him to run along. Pat on the shoulder, with him wincing, and Columbo says, "He thought you were going to hit him." "Oh, my bark is worse than my bite, Lieutenant." Going through the files, turns out that they have a name. It is one Cadet Springer, who was assigned the cleaning detail. He is one with a bad record as far as the school. Many demerits against him. And he was assigned the cleaning detail in hopes that the responsibility would prove to put a little bit of, not gumption in the boy, but a sense of responsibility to him.
Yeah, the idea is that, like, if you're in a classroom, let's say, and you got a kid that's acting out being bad, you give them something to do to channel that energy, but it also sends the message that you're doing it, that I see you, I'm in control here, I'm in charge, because if you say no, well, there's going to be a consequence. And also sometimes it gives somebody that may just have a lot of energy, that has no direction, never had structure, something like it. That's why if you take a volunteer in the classroom or in a situation, sometimes you'll get people who want to do it, whether they're a kiss ass or not. But the point is they're not empowered by doing something that you're giving them. It's you're having the power, and everybody knows cooperatively that you are allowing them to do it. So you're diffusing them and also controlling them at the same time. So you're managing everybody else, because you can't manage, say, 30, 40 kids in a classroom. You can only manage 3 or 4. And if you get the right 3 or 4 ones under control, the rest fall into line. And he's one of those kind of guys that, on paper looks like, a shit bag, but in real life, he's identified him as somebody that could be like a man, the man, a significant person that would be able to influence others. So he's taken a personal involvement in him.
Yes. We also have Captain Loomis, who comes into the office, and Columbo offers to go ahead and step away, but no, you stay right there, Lieutenant. And he goes ahead and tells Loomis about seeing a bottle of cider, that they know that spirits are strictly prohibited on school grounds, and he must launch an investigation immediately. After he runs along, Columbo goes ahead and says, well, you know, boys will be boys. Yes, but someone has to turn them into men. After this, Columbo goes ahead and speaks to Springer. Brings up the cloth, and at once Springer's like, this is a clean wrap. Stop reading. Starts going ahead, and he brings up the rag. And at once, Springer is able to identify it. Sorry, one moment.
Well, what's going on here is Columbo's, he's mentioned to Loomis, about the cider thing. So Loomis is definitely an underling in a way, but he's, lords over the kids a little bit. And he obviously appreciates Columbo's position of power, and he's working with them. So this Columbo's able to view what's going on here. And it's the only time we kind of really see him he's firm with the kids, but he wasn't a yeller screen. He was just firm. But with this guy, Loomis, you can almost tell like he's irritated with him because it's like, hey, you're a man in charge. You're supposed to be doing your job. And these kids are, punking you because they're growing something here, do your job. And he takes it very seriously. He's reprimanding him professionally in front of Columbo and all that too. So it's the only time we see him. I'm not going to say get mad or angry. He's irritated, I would say. But that's the most intense we've seen him, like in an outward kind of like losing kind of control manner too. Columbo's not really phased by it or whatever, but it's like, yeah, I guess that's what it was. It was cider because he says cider, and again, it was such a quick scene there too. But so we're gonna see him kind of rag at the guy for a little bit for it too. It's just, was it a cleaning rag? Was it this? Was it that? What's going on? So it's interesting because at this point, sometimes there's what I call the squeeze play, where the bad guy gets squeezed by Columbo, whether it's inadvertent or not. And Columbo at this point just seems very kind of like, yeah, whatever. And what was weird about this episode for me is that he's going to stay there to figure stuff out. His wife's out of town, whatever.
That's after he goes ahead and he's stepped outside to see the officers that were still there. They had.
It's not it's like a map, but it's like a blueprint. It's like a engineering's kind of like print, like when you design a new building or whatever.
Yes, they have the blueprints for a school gym, and he wants to go ahead and he wants to keep that. The rest of the effects he doesn't really care about, and has them sent along. But he's keeping the blueprint with him, and he's going to be staying on the grounds. In talking to his name is escaping me again. The boy, Springer. In talking to Springer about the rag, though, he does seem to instantly like catch on to him. Like, even though, yes, he had the cleaning duty and he already heard about the history he has, it doesn't seem likely that he would have forgotten it, that he would have left that in there.
Oh, completely. And that's a part of good writing, because later on Columbo references it to the major there, where he's like, yeah, I just feel like he's holding something back, and he's not the whatever like that. So it's explained out for us if we can't see it here on screen with them going on. He's clearly hiding something. I mean, it's obvious as day.
Yes. After that, we have people running along. The bit of this episode, I think there's like two of them. One of them is that Columbo is always asking everywhere, hey, do you happen to have a light? And nobody smokes on campus.
That's true. That's a good point. That's a good point.
That'll come up later. And then the second thing, we have these kids that they aren't wearing the full uniform. They're wearing something light. They're plebes, and they're running awkwardly. And then when he goes to join them for lunch, they are eating in...
What?
Help me understand it. Help me understand it, because they say, eating a square meal because of the way that they're eating, but it just looks like they are fumbling around. It looks ridiculous to me.
It's like an old school mess hall like that. That's how lunches used to look like in cafeterias. Because if you look at it, there's a scene where he's up there talking while everybody's eating, and he's bitching at Loomis again, right? Just to get the point across. Um, those used to be how the rolls used to be made when you're in school.
No,
And
but I'm talking specifically about the way that they're making the plebes eat their meal.
you mean like the actual eating of the food?
Yes. Do you see it?
So here's the thing. Okay, so in the military, so in the old days, you were taught how to set a table a certain way. Forks go here, certain kinds of things, how things got set up. You were taught to serve things a certain way, always approach from the back and right, and never interrupt or never talk to them. And I'm looking at you, all you servers, begging for tips today currently. There was a structure and order for how you did everything, for how you did. Who ate first, where you sat at the table. All those things mattered. So a lot of traditions and things that got instilled in a lot of scenarios, especially in the business world, come from the military. Decorations, the tie, that all comes from formal gear. And what was the purpose of formal gear back in the day? It's to let the average motherfucker know that you're somebody special. Whether it was the fact that you wore ostentatious clothes, or they were big, bright, look at me kind of stuff, or you had pins on you that symbolized something that you could only earn in battle, right? So these traditions got passed down. So you would always have a way that you would learn how to fold your clothes, how you would make your bed. That's called discipline. It's having the ability to do all these simple, basic chores, whether it's eating, cooking, cleaning, and all that, a certain way, all the time per a schedule, and you get used to that routine. Because in the military, the routine is what everybody knows and has to figure out and be successful at. And that's called the part whole method. And that's where on the big stage, the best leaders are people that were good logicians, because they knew how to identify the people that could be successful in that situation. So you may be a shitty cook, right? But damn it, if you can cook, onions really good or something like that, maybe you're going to be a good vegetable sous chef, right? But the point is if you're really going to be a cook, you need to know how to do everything. It's just that you might excel in some areas more than others. So the whole eating of things in a certain way and all that stuff, that's not an accident. And you know what? I didn't pay that much attention to it because I was focused on the fact that the important people were at that front table where everybody else was in the side. But rest assured, because that was filmed on location, I'm sure they had a lot of extras there. They probably kept it in for the people that were watching it, that would be legitimate, right? I mean, that's the whole key thing to it. They're not just filming it at this place because the episode calls for it. They're using that and everything else to demonstrate the way you run. It runs a certain way. You don't just run this way or that way. No, because there is an awkward photo I put in here, we maybe haven't put up yet, of where the guy's running and he looks like Ace Ventura too, and he's getting the blow darts in him, and he's going limp and all that, running around with his arms like a T-Rex or whatever. But yeah, it's just, there is a method for everything that you can think of in there. I'm serious. How many socks you get issued, how many this and that, how you're supposed to change it, how you cut your hair, what you're allowed to wear, all the time. There's something for everything.
I understand that, but the way that they have the plebes eating, like they go ahead and they're like robots with their arms sticking out, pick up a bite and bring it in, but then they tuck their chins in, and it looks, just like
if your elbows touch the table, you would get in trouble. If your elbows touch the table, you would get in trouble. The old expression, and I'm serious about this, I remember hearing this as a kid, is don't eat like a Marine, because their elbows would be flared out like chicken wings and they'd be shoving food in. And honestly, bringing your mouth to the food is considered disgraceful. You're supposed to sit back, lean up straight, cut one piece, put the knife down, pick up the fork, put that to you, bring it from the bottom, and use your lips, and don't let the utensils hit your teeth. And I'm not suggesting that the Army goes that hardcore, but there's levels of eating for all that kind of stuff. I'm not joking. I'm dead serious about that. So I didn't really pay that much attention to it. I looked at them briefly and said, yeah, they're all kind of lining up. They're all eating the similar meal, which is probably, a protein, 2 carbs, and something else or whatever. And you could see that the salt, pepper shakers, the same utensils, the exact same spots everywhere and all that. That's standard stuff, right? That's how you run a business, basically, is you have a spot for everything and an amount. But the method in which you eat and how to eat it, that's true. It's important. And also, you get down to it dietarily, the order in which you eat your food is also a thing too. Just like with exercise and learning skills, the order of what you do is just as important as the skill selection that you're trying to do. So for food, I'm not surprised by that at all. I'm actually glad that you're bringing that up because I really didn't really notice it that much because I was focused on something else. But that's just a really wonderful observation, and it totally makes sense in the military. It's that way. Folding your clothes, all of that. I'm serious, man.
Going back to the table, though,
Yeah.
we have Columbo saying that, yeah, he spoke to Springer. He spoke to him, and the conversation was really unsatisfactory. That's the term that he uses. And
Yeah.
we have Rumford, like, he goes, hey, can you pass me the bread? Yes. And he goes ahead, hands him that. Can you pass me the butter too? Now, if I get you the butter, will you promise to explain why this is unsatisfactory? He was almost like a child asked, can you please? Can you tell me why? And he says,
it was funny watching him fuck with Loomis, though. I did kind of like that. I was kind of like, I know you're the bad guy here, but I kind of like how you're ribbing this motherfucker. But there's a reason why that's his downfall later.
Yeah, he does snap at Loomis. But I was talking more about Rumford trying to get more information out of Columbo. After that, they go ahead and they walk, and that's when Columbo officially asks, hey, can I stay the night? If it's all right, I'm going to stay. I'll stay in the barracks, because he offers to do a cottage. But he's like, no, I'll be with the kids, you know? And Springer suggests, yes, maybe you can have another conversation with Springer. They give him quarters, and Columbo notes how, well, he used to be in the army, how everything's all separated out, all spread it. And he gets his own room. He wishes he had that in the army. And the kid that he has with him doesn't really care. He does this a couple times where he's just like staring at Columbo, like, are you done? So he can run away. Later that night, Columbo can't sleep. He gets up. He stole a couple bread rolls. He picks them out of his jacket and he's just eating them.
Yes. And those bread rolls weren't too bad. But you know what? He's rocking that wife beater. We got sweating. We got wife beaters. We got bombs. This is good stuff.
He goes downstairs to the telephone booth and he gives a call to the officer early that day. It's like 3 a.m. and the poor officer, he has the most pathetic voice as he's saying, like, it's 3 o'clock. What did you want to know? And he goes ahead and brings up, I noticed that you said that they heard the explosion all the way in whatever the place is.
At, you know where? The girls' school. Because not only do we have the academy here for the men, we're going to be visiting a girls' school, sir. And you know where my baby breaks all her rules? She breaks them at the girls' school.
Yes. Well, they heard the explosion.
It gets better. That's the whole point. It's getting better. We have a girls' school, too.
Yes, but they heard the explosion.
That's correct.
Which
and they're
is
like 8-10 miles away.
Odd, because they don't just use this cannon ceremoniously. They do for these 3 days, but they also shoot it every day. They shoot blank charges out all the time to go ahead. Like, what is it? Is it the morning and the end of the day, or just the end of the day?
Probably. But the point is, they're hearing something that they don't normally hear. Why is that, sir?
Why
we don't know. Why ask why?
Well, a mystery show isn't a good thing to ask. Mm-hmm. Why ask why? You ask why of everything. The next morning, Columbo is awoken by one of the boys that they send to run along. Wake up and at him, because it's early. He jumps out of bed, and he's getting ready in the morning. And that same kid that showed him the room, can't remember his name, is also there brushing his teeth and getting ready. And Columbo takes note of a necklace that's around his neck and there's a ring, and oh, it's from the girls' school, and I noticed one on Springer too. Yeah, he's got one from a girl from the girls' school, And Columbo gives a little story about how he saw his ex after some years that he had given his class ring to, and she had kept it all that time. Well, I thought that was nice anyway. The kid doesn't care. But as he runs along, he notices a little bit of dirt and grime on the edge of the sink and looks up and notices the air conditioner grate pushed to the side just slightly.
Yeah, what could have possibly fit up there in that? Maybe a jug of cider? Of the spirit, sir? What say you?
Mayhaps. The
Because we don't see
next
anything.
the Columbo goes, he's speaking to somebody on the side as we have Rumford running a drill, and Columbo runs up and says, "You might have seen who I was just speaking to." No, I did not. He was the officer from yesterday, and they looked into what was in the charge because he thought that them hearing it all the way over there was odd. Turns out there were traces of C4, a powerful gelatin. And that there's no doubt now that whoever put that charge in there, well, not whoever put the charge, but whoever changed up the charge was trying to get the person killed. And at this point, Columbo has brought up the idea that possibly it's Rumford that's wanted dead.
What I really liked about this is, even though it sounds so simple, and I hate to say it because it's not been true once, honestly, but it really seems like in here that he really believes that that's true. And the reason why I say that is because Rumford's been cordial, polite, despite, somebody dying there and all that stuff there too. He's helped him out with everything. He hasn't acted bad to him. He's been consistent with what Columbo or anybody else would see as his character. He's not acting out of character. He doesn't have there's no hot women in this episode for the most part, basically. It's that kind of episode that's about men. And I say that because there's always been in a lot of episodes where you go, hey, even Dick Van Dyke was going to get some with a really hot assistant who, would become, ISIS, right? I said the 70s. So we don't have any of that up to this point here. So it sounds so simple, but it's very believable. Like, sir, you don't understand what I'm saying. You're the one that normally does that. That person's out for you. Do you have, does somebody have a grudge against you? And it's like, I like how this has gone far along in the episode to this point where there's really not any new clues. It's just that for the most part, most everything Columbo's already tried researching and exhausting, most of it. And now he's realizing that, man, I don't know if I have the full bead on what's happening here. That's pretty rare to happen in a Columbo episode to this point.
Yeah. He does have a couple things that are still sticking out in his mind, though. He's like wandering school. He has the blueprints with him as he's looking at the gym. Yep. And he is saying, "When are you getting the new one?" To the boys are running, pulls along the one that tends to be helping him. And no, sir, we've just got it changed like 7 years ago, which is new for the school. But why would he have new blueprints? One of a set of 3, which was also something that I thought odd. I don't know why he wouldn't have the other ones in the car, but it's just one of those details that we passed by. After that, Columbo does go to
because enough time had passed by where I'd kind of forgotten he had that as a clue. I kept thinking of the rag and the cider, really, because that's what they keep talking about. But yeah, so it's like, oh yeah, he's got this thing. What is it? And he's like, what the hell is he talking about? A new gym? And then it occurred to me, oh yeah, these are for what the new college is going to be or whatever like that. And that's why he's noticing a discrepancy in them. And so even if you couldn't pick that up or you might have missed it slightly like I did, when he's talking to the cadets that paused for a minute there and he's asking them stuff like that, and then he talks to Rumford later, you're like, okay, that makes sense. It's not done talking down to you, but it's smart enough writing to kind of make you as the reader go, oh yeah, that makes sense. I understand what's going on here. I get it.
We also have a little scene that I had almost passed by completely that I forgot about. Rumford, he had punished Springer already.
Yes.
Punishment, scraping that checkerboard pattern with a toothbrush.
That's right, toothbrush. That's right, buddy. That works, man. It's still good to this day. Your kid gets out of line, say, "Go get your toothbrush. You got some cleaning to do."
He brings up that they had. I'm trying to remember exactly what he does to scare Springer off, but I can't remember the exact details of what he uses. Point is that Springer ends up running away. He's not seen on campus. Columbo, at that point, he goes to the girls' school and asks about a particular one to see if they're connected to Springer. There is one. She's already on the school bus going away, and you have the girl that's saying, "Are you sure you're a cop, sir?"
I think I put a pic into that.
I don't think I have one.
I put it in there, sir. It's right outside the car. She's got that funky style 70s thing going on. It's a girls' school. How am I not going to have a picture of a girls' school?
Sir, I have 8 photos. The next one is the one of quality.
Shit. Are you sure?
I am absolutely certain.
You're certain? That's all you have?
Certain, sir.
Oh, man. Let's try this real time. Let me see if I can't find it. Because I have it. I've got to have it. It's got to be number 5 right here. And I'm looking at it. I've read her file. She went to school here. I wonder if I could just drop it in chat. What do you say, sir?
I don't think you could. I don't post the photo in chat.
Oh, are you serious, bro? All right, go on. But okay, so you tell me, what do you think a girl in a girls' school should be dressed like? Skirt.
Yeah, skirt.
What else? Long hair. Long, beautiful, gorgeous 70s hair. Some sort of long chain jewelry. Yep. I just thought it was interesting because, later on after I watched the episode, when I went online to check other people's reviews about it, everyone kept commenting on the only hot girl in here was the one he talked to, looking for the one that, for the guy and all that too. And I was like, yeah, that's true. There's this whole episode's about boys and men. And really nothing about the girls other than those convenient alibi for him because he wasn't on campus that night. I mean, that's where all this is going. It should be pretty obvious. So girls' school, he's got the locket on the chain that we saw when, in earlier scenes. So it's nothing here we haven't already experienced like in some other story, right? You know what I'm saying?
I think my brother also noted that she sounded like Jamie Lee Curtis in Halloween.
I can see that because it's kind of like that. Yeah, it's not her, but still.
After that, Columbo does follow the bus around. The girl in a red sweater, and she slips away somewhere. I guess her meeting spot with. Oh, look at that! It's Springer, and Springer tells her that he's going to just try to get away. That they're trying to pin it on him, and Columbo asked, "Who's trying to pin it on you?" As he's standing in the stairway. We cut from there back to the office where Columbo's there with Springer in the office. He convinced him to come and explain why he could not have possibly left the rag and been responsible for Hayward's death. And it's just that he wasn't there that night. He was off campus, and I think he says something about an alibi, and Columbo says, "No, sir, it's a fact. He was not here. Couldn't have been him." And
did you get that difference between an alibi and a fact?
Well,
Columbo says, "No, it's a fact. It's not an alibi."
I mean, it
What's
is
the difference?
I don't know what the definitive proof that he was out with that girl
So
is.
if I tell you, hey, I was over at my girl's house last night, that's an alibi. But then when you prove it and all that, then it becomes factual. So somebody just saying they weren't there isn't a fact. It's conjecture. We call it an alibi, but Columbo had gone through all that to prove it. And they kind of glossed over it a little bit, but I thought the way they had said it there was significant because at this point here, when he's in a room, remember, Rumford doesn't know where he was at, but he trusts Columbo enough to believe Columbo's not bullshitting him. And like I say, this is where Columbo's basically getting ready to lay the wood on him about, hey, I think somebody's after you, not the dude that died, So it's the timing of all this is kind of interesting because, like I say, we've gone pretty much 2/3 into the last act here without it really syncing up with Columbo, where you can just see Columbo believes it's the guy, and he just has to find the right button to push or the right piece of fact or some insight, like a kid tying a shoe, right? So to me, I thought this is a very important scene and done very well. And I think this last act of Columbo is one of the best of all of them because it does, I think, start here in the scene that you're describing where they're in there and Columbo's like, no, it's not an alibi, it's a fact, sir. So he's eliminated everything. So what does Rumford got to do? He's got to figure it out. This is where he starts to sweat again, this time even more profusely.
Yeah, because Columbo says, is there anybody that would want you harmed, would want you dead? And he is not able to bring anything up. Like, Columbo offers a whole bunch of things. Maybe somebody from the war. Maybe somebody you argued with over something, over a woman. And Rumford's like, immediately, no.
What did you make of that? He was very quick to say no about a woman.
He doesn't have. There is no Mrs. Rumford. He's not interested.
There's this idea that he's a closeted homosexual. And the reason why I say that is because you can only say or imply certain things on television. So if you were to try to do it, you had to do it in certain ways that would pass like TV law or code or whatever you want to call it. In the 70s, up until about the mid-70s, if you were considered homosexual in a lot of states or federally, and I'm not sure the specifics here, so just understand the concept I'm presenting to you here because this is 2 generations ago. That was considered a mental illness and you would be put away for it. So if you were, quote unquote, in the closet as a male or female, you pretty much kept it that way. So if people went to a homosexual club, again, there were only certain ones you would go to. It was on the down low. It was very hush hush or whatever like that. Not that those things did not exist or that people didn't choose as an adult what activities they wanted to be involved in, because obviously people have sex and drugs and drink. That's never gone away or whatever. But you got a guy in charge of a bunch of young men here, and at one point he like reassures the one young cadet touching his shoulder like that, almost like in a paternalistic manner that some people might have read, whatever. And the Boodle Boy sounds kind of goofy or whatever, because there's this idea of in sports like of hazing, where like if I'm a veteran and you're the new guy on the team, I make you carry my bags like you're my little bitch, for lack of a better term. It's how we make it difficult for you to indoctrinate you into the culture of what you're going into. But of course, today in the modern world, that's considered where it doesn't happen because of abuse and the power structure and all these things here too. And it's a thing that happens in sports and coaching, but not nearly as significant as what it used to be. And so when he was like, oh, no, it's key and it's significant because the way they edit the scene is as soon as he says it, he actually almost says it kind of embarrassingly. He says it so quick. And Columbo, who's leaning forward, all of a sudden just kind of leans back, and I think he puts his finger on the corner of his mouth, and that's when he has the flash of insight of what's happening here. Not because he's gay, but because as he finds out that he's probably gay, or it's insinuated that he is, that makes Columbo think of him in a different light. And as a result of that, he starts to realize, wait a minute, I've got it completely backwards here the entire time. And it's very subtle. And some people might say, oh, that's bullshit. I don't see it. And, you see what you see, right? But again, anytime you got somebody in a position of power, it's about the power structure. It's not about if you're gay, but it's how you abuse that position that you're in. We've not seen him do that. We have not seen him have favors. His secretary, let's be honest, she's not the hot woman that we've seen in all the episodes up to now, has she? There's nothing attractive about women in here at all. It's all about the focus or lack of focus on anything sexual in this episode, which is a stark contrast. So there's a lot of these ideas out there that that's probably what it is, and that was their way of getting around it. And it was probably even cutting edge by 70 standards when you can only say and so much. But it's very key in Columbo's perception change that allows him to really get towards the end here, because we're in the last act. This episode's almost over, but it's such a masterful way of writing and editing at the same time that if you're listening to it, watching it, that you go, that's got to be it that Columbo gets. But nobody's going to talk about it like that, right? It's not
Well,
the shoelace or something else or a footprint, right?
it
It's
can
human being stuff.
It can also be the fact that there's no Mrs. Rumford. He is married to the job,
Correct.
to his work, to
Yes.
being the director.
He has no life, and he tells them that, and the whole thing about white roses and having something to go to and all that. Honestly, what I say about his acting here is so good. It's almost slightly pathetic, and he seems like such a lonely person that's all that he has. And I think Columbo might have sensed that, because Columbo does try to look for the humanity in somebody, even if the person's a killer. Not that he likes everybody, because he doesn't, but he just understands him as a human being. And this is Rumford just trying to find somebody who is equal in a way, and not in an arrogant sort of way. It's not like that at all. It's like he's not been around anybody that he can appreciate and respect. That's why he treats Loomis like a dog, because he doesn't do his job right. And he's not an asshole about it. But it's he who wears the crown has the heaviest head, as they say, or whatever. It's the hardest job to do, because everyone says I could do that job. Well, then do it. But when you do it, you think about the job differently. And he wears this weight in a very proud way, and he really loves what he's doing.'s not in it for the power or the glory, right? I mean, that's the beauty of this whole scene, and it goes on. It doesn't just end here.
Yep. If he mentions the roses, like you said, if the wars were over, he would just into his backyard to his roses, and he's sure that Columbo, if people of the world would stop abusing each other, like in the photo here, that he would hang up his, I suppose you could call that a uniform. Columbo, after that, says that he wants to show Rumford something, to wait right there. And Rumford gets a call. He arranges a meeting, and then he goes out and down towards the courtyard where Columbo will find him again. And Columbo shows him the blueprint, and he's trying to figure it out. And it was stumping him for a while. But he noticed something in the bathrooms. If it's a new gym for a boys' college, where on this side are the urinals?
That's right.
Right there. He figured out that Haynes must have wanted to make it a school that allowed girls in. And at that moment, we have Rumford saying, yes, well, he brought that idea up a few times, but no. He would bring it up, but it's never going to happen. He has the board's full confidence. I'm sure you wouldn't mind if I go check that out personally. You'll do what you must. I love that. I love that exchange. I love those little bits.
Well, there's an episode of The Prisoner that, I always remarked on the place that they filmed it out over there in Wales, how Portmeirion, the name of the town or the place, where they have the living chessboard. And that was one of the episodes there too, where people are playing chess, but they're human beings moving in pieces. And I just felt like this was kind of like a peek on that a little bit. I mean, how can you not? I mean, you got the prisoner right there, and you got this checkerboard pattern, the red and the white. Awesome stuff. Because the way he walks up to him, I was like, okay, is he moving like a bishop? Is he moving like a knight? Is he moving like a king or a pawn? I just, all that nerdy chess stuff was going through my head.
Yeah, and from there, though, we go ahead and we are back at, it's nighttime, and everybody's being woken up at 3 o'clock in the morning. I find it funny that Columbo goes out and says, it's 3 o'clock in the morning, after calling the guy the previous night at the same time.
Yeah.
And they are looking for the cider, and they're going room to room. And the one that Columbo had him shown around his room that he talked to that morning, he seems a little nervous, and he actually scoots along as they check the bathrooms. They go, they check the air vent, nothing's there. 3 boys, that kid, Springer, and then one other one, they're talking about, where did the cider go? What do you mean it's not there? Where could it be? And Columbo appears, he's holding the bottle, and he says, now, I'm not going to say anything. What I want to know is how you handle the cider. All about the cider. And we cut to the next morning. Rumford gets a call from Loomis that he has a lead on the cider. And he goes outside and by the cannon, look, hanging from the window, what could be there but that bottle? And I think it's one of the kids collecting it. And that's when Columbo comes out. Hey, I heard you got it. You found it, right? Yeah. And I know. When did you say you saw it again? And he makes some mention about the day. And he's like, no, that's not possible, sir. And as the cadets from the second floor are all being dragged out, he's like, you stay right there. As he's telling him that he's got him. He knows exactly when he saw that bottle of cider. It's a narrow window from like 6:15 to 6:25. That's when he noticed it because he was putting the rag into the cannon. And Rumford he knows he's got, and he pretty much he's not going to act sorrowful about it. He does not regret the murder, but he would like to give him one last order, and that's what he does. He orders the boys, the ones for the cider will report to Loomis immediately, and they're dismissed. And he turns back to the detective, and that's the end of our episode.
Yeah, I think the really sad scene in here was them basically, hey, would you like to try a cigar? Really nice quality and the light and all that. I mean, he's run out of things to sit there and say, and he's just, hey, whatever's going to happen is going to happen. And it was really a nice way at the end here because you could have taken this general's performance in any sort of way, played by just about anybody, and you've been like, yeah, I've seen some worse stuff and general stuff, and it kind of looks all the same. And the nuanced performance I think that Patrick McGoohan gives here as the character as Rumsfeld is really phenomenal. I think it's one of the better acting performances in all the Columbo episodes by the lead guy. And I don't mean in terms of creativity of kill or thinking on your feet, but I just mean he is a believer. He's got his whatever, but he's just so damn convincing in it. And I just think his chemistry is off the charts with Columbo. And I really love the fact that Columbo, out of all the bad guys, this seemed to be one of the ones that it took him the longest, not just to get the aha moment, which, I explained about the lack of a wife comment sort of thing that might have given him the insight at that time, but just how it was brought along. And really the cider there was just the whole thing with him ripping on Loomis was just the fact that you fucked up by not considering that might have come up in Columbo's thing or whatever, or the timing of it, even though you saw it, because if you weren't out there, you shouldn't have seen it. And that's the only flaw in your thinking that you didn't do, which once again shows us some Columbo episodes that usually it's not what gets the killers their ego or arrogance, although sometimes it is that there's just one little unknown out there that they don't know how to think of or plan for. And that's the whole thing with telling the lies. You might get away with it, but usually you got to tell another one, then you can't manage them at all, then you break down, and it's hard you cannot not communicate as a human being. And the fact that he was able to be truthful and honest with Columbo about everything without being slick about it or trying to challenge him or be combative made this a bit of a different episode. But again, no music, really, no scoring, maybe some birds to the outside. So it was a very dark episode, quiet episode, not necessarily a lot of jokes, no goofy one-ups or womp, 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 moments or stupid little things like this at all. So I think it's a fantastic episode. It's great acting on McGoohan's part, one of the better guys on here, but it's not a particularly fun one, is it? Like, I could watch it for some nuance again, but it's not like we're watching Jack Cassidy, right? I mean, oh, come on, that's so much fun, right?
I think I read somewhere where Columbo says that it's a brilliant episode. He loves it. but it's not one that you would consider among his personal favorites, because it isn't a lighthearted story at all. It starts very slow.
Yes.
But it's on purpose. It's methodical in nature. It is not meant to be a Columbo goes to the UK episode.
You know, Patrick McGoohan, I mentioned, as the prisoner. He was one of the first guys over there to be strongly considered for the role of James Bond. That obviously went to Sean Connery first. I mean, I'm not going to count the Casino Royale, Peter Sellers thing or whatever that was before it. And he kind of turned it down because he did not want to be considered like a playboy in that sense. He didn't want to. He was one of the first guys that I can recall as an actor said, no, I really don't want to kiss a woman because I'm married, or honestly the other thing too is I want to use my wits and not a gun. We talked about those kind of aspects a little bit when we were reviewing The Prisoner, about how when you're living all that stuff and it becomes the paranoia about the state and how you deal with people and all that, it gets really philosophical. That was a great stuff, except for they wanted more episodes than they probably should have written. But he was also Danger Man. And so if you look at like Danger Man and a couple others, The Fugitive and another episode, some people think that's a 3-series trilogy that ended with him as the prisoner. And that's pretty fucking badass to me. And that was like head blown at the time that, wow, British people could really come up with some good shit. So I think the thing with McGoohan is he's always attracted to quality. And so I look back on this show here as of right now, I like it when it's a bit more smart rather than cute. But I know television turns to cute, and I can't stand cute. Cute's nice for puppy dogs and ice cream and stuff like that, kids and stuff. But I don't want to see it on my television shows for the most part. Sexy is one thing, but cute's another. But this is just such a strong episode. But it's hard to say it's fun, man. It's just such a good acting one. And I hear that he's in a couple more. So I'm going to be really curious to see how he comes across in future episodes. 3 more, you're saying?
I believe he is I think he holds the record for being the most recurring
I know
actor.
Shatner's got 2.
William Shatner has 2.
William Shatner has 2, yeah.
Jack Cassidy.
3?
Robert Culp.
Robert Culp had a couple.
Had 3 as well. We finished Culp. Culp is done. We have one more Jack Cassidy. And then there's one other person that had 3. And then Patrick McGoohan has 4. So he has 3 more to come.
Nice. Any final thoughts, sir?
Good episode. Strong episode. Make sure to always sit up straight while eating. I guess.
And what did we learn from this episode, sir, besides that?
You got to think of better ways to kill people than with cannon.
This damn bitches over the girls' school gave it away. They'd only shut up and stop talking and didn't say they heard it, we'd be better off. Nah, it's a great episode, man. So that's next week, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be doing the next episode, and that'll be pretty interesting. Have not watched that yet. Looking forward to it. Again, it's first watch for the young 20-something Professor Pixel and I here on the Xtreme Movie Show. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Sunday night live, we'll be having our Miami Nights night. We're going to be on episode 4, if you count the first one as 2 episodes. So that'll be pretty interesting. RDV and I will be doing that, and then we'll be back again next week to continue Columbo as we finish out season 4. Good night now.
Good evening. Hey, one more thing.